Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. Are you an author, speaker, coach, or entrepreneur building a brand in today's very crowded marketplace? How do you stand out? Join me on September 27th and share 97 minutes of your time for just $97 and learn how to empower your brand message and shine as a guest on podcasts. iHeart's doing it. Spotify's doing it. You should do it too. Join me and spend 97 minutes of your time for just $97. You can find the registry link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Carrie West. She is a life story coach and an author. Welcome, Carrie. How are you doing today?
Thank you. It's awesome to be here. I am great.
Excellent. I love hearing that. I am so excited to jump in and share a little bit about your story, your journey, and the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you're doing. So with that being said, let us begin. How long have you been a life story coach? And for those who might not know, can you talk a little bit about what you do as a life story coach, what a life story coach is?
Sure. I've been doing this for about 3 years now as my work, but I've been doing it informally for probably 30 years. Life story coach, I think a lot of people have talked about narrative therapy and narrative coaching, people who work with you to change your narrative. I came at it from a different perspective. I went to film school at the American Film Institute. I have my master's in and storytelling because I've always been a storyteller. Storytelling is how I survived my crazy childhood. I would entertain myself. I started reading at such an early age because stories, I could escape in them, and stories just held my attention. And funny, when I talk to a lot of my clients now, they too thought if they could just wait for their real parents to show up, they kept worries in their head. That's my story. You can't have it. So I realized that even when I would be with my friends and talking, they'd say, oh, I had this situation happen with my boyfriend. And it's like, you realize that's just the story, right? What do you mean? And I just got into it. But more importantly, in the entertainment industry, it just made so much sense to me. I was deep into my healing process then. And as I was taking it apart, I was like, oh my God, my mother's my antagonist. My sister's my foil. So I saw all these people in my life as characters. And then I started seeing themes, different themes that happen for each area of my life. And it made sense to me. So when I started working with people officially, not just ad hoc, I approached it from not just a narrative therapy. I love therapy. I've been in therapy a lot of my adult life. So it's not a knock on therapy. But one of the things that I didn't like about therapy is they would say to you, how'd that make you feel?
What do you think?
Exactly. So I look at it as, instead of trying to understand the narrative from a higher level perspective, I jump into the weeds and say, let's look at what the elements of a story are. You have your theme, you have your characters, you have the plot, you have the point of view, you even have set and settings and costumes. And I said, if you look at each of those elements of your life, you can see your story. And you know what, Brad? It's a lot more fun.
Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. I could see it would be a lot more fun than therapy. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the brief version of how I got started, but I always saw myself as a storyteller.
Yeah. And so what were you doing for a living? I know you mentioned the entertainment industry just there before you made the jump into entrepreneurship and coaching. And what was the catalyst for you making that leap?
Like I said, I've always been somebody who would help out in those ways. But after the film industry, I I joined the film industry because I wanted to be the writer. I wanted to write the great American novel.
Yeah.
And I ended up writing a book about bagels. So I figured that had a lot of interest. I know. The Psychology of Bagels. It's on Amazon.
That's an interesting one.
And I have a few hard copies. If anybody wants one, I'll send you one. But
I would love one.
Yes, I'm fascinated with, again, it's a story of how I would see people and how they'd approach bagels. And it just got me thinking about, there's a psychology here. So people are drawn to a bagel.
All right.
It fascinated me. But anyway, as I was writing my great American novel, I was in a master writing class at UCLA, and somebody needed some work done. And of course, when you're a struggling writer trying to get your first book published, you say, I can do that work.
Yeah.
And that led me into the business world. I brought on some people to actually do it, and then went back to my book, and then started getting calls to buy this product that was built for this person in my class. So I ended up starting a business and sold the business, made no money, but sold it. And, got back into the struggling writer role. And then somebody else called me because they heard about what I did in this business and wondered if I would interview for a CEO job. And it's like, no, not a CEO. But they actually asked me to consult on a few projects. So I've been consulting with businesses. Okay. And again, unbeknownst to them, I've been helping them unravel their story.
Incredible the way things work, isn't it?
I know, but it's so funny. As an entrepreneur, what's the first thing if you're going out to raise money? What do they say? Know your story.
Yeah.
Have your elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is just in a very fast story.
Very brief.
It's like the marketing poster for a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started to see everything in this frame of being a story. And then finally, after the pandemic, I was at a friend's house and she said, Carrie, you got to put this out in the world. What you do is amazing. This whole perspective you have, you got to put it out in the world. So I wrote it as a TED Talk. Yeah. And I asked another editor friend of mine to read it. And she said, are you going to turn this into a book yet? What are you doing? Are you just going to keep writing about bagels? I said, all right, I'll write the book. So that's really what started it. And then I just thought, since I do seem to do this anyway, why don't I make this my life focus? So about 3 years ago, I shifted to stop hiding behind other work I was doing and say, this is who I am. I decided,
the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, I decided to redo my own story. I changed the title, changed the theme, and that was it.
Beautiful. Why would someone want to hire a life story coach? What are the benefits for someone in working with a life story coach?
I know my clients have said they have moved through things a lot faster. They've had aha moments faster, and it's the aha moments that make you realize your role in the story and how you have the part to play. I worked with a guy in 3 sessions, and he turned his entire life around. He was starting a new job in Los Angeles, and he said he heard about me through another client, and he said, look, I'm so afraid of repeating the same mistakes. Can you help me? Yep. So we dug right into it. And after the first session, he was like, oh my God. And so if you are really ready to change and not just continue the story by talking it through with everybody else, then I'm your person. Right. And I think it's the approach that I use. I don't know that I'm definitely your person, but that's the approach is the point of view of a story. When you asked about a point of view of the story, what you're asking is who's telling it. So in your life, you've told your story. But what if somebody told Brad Walsh's story, let's say your grandmother, one of your clients, one of the people in this empowerography group? What would that story be?
I don't know. That'd be interesting. I never really thought about that from someone else's perspective.
Yeah. And I think about it when I talk to my sister who grew up in the same house I did. And we share these stories, and she'll say, is that how you saw that?
We all have our different viewpoints of how things happened, right?
Exactly. The point of view of the story. So when I did it for me, I saw that my parents weren't evil, who thought I was just a horrible being and spawn of Satan kind of a thing. And I really did think I was some damaged goods. I really did. And I saw that from their perspective, they were damaged. They had their issues. I just was collateral damage in a war they were fighting with life. And I was at a point of making a choice. Do I want to continue down the path they set out for me, or could I go back to my point of view?
Yeah.
And so just switching your point of view changes your perspective.
Incredible.
When you change your perspective, the first thing I say to everybody is, are you ready to forgive?
Forgiveness is huge.
It's the cornerstone. It's the cornerstone of my work.
And I think we need to, in speaking of forgiveness, we need to remind ourselves that the forgiveness is for us. It's not for the other person or the other people. It's got nothing to do with them. Because really, if they've done something wrong to you, and I was just reading about this last night, if they've done something wrong to you and you've cut them off, they're not going to know you forgave them anyways. So it doesn't make a lick of difference. It's a matter of forgiving yourself and forgiving for yourself and getting that weight from around your neck off so that you can move forward and grow.
Yes. Yes. I've often said forgiveness is your get out of jail free card.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I was holding on to this stuff with my parents. They'd been dead. They died young. They were dead. They were never going to get. And so I kept bringing in characters to replay their roles because I hadn't forgiven. I was stuck in the story with no other characters at that point. Everybody was gone.
And so you're repeating that story, reliving that story, just bringing in different characters to fill those roles. And you stayed stuck in that muck.
I recasted the roles. I think about how in Iron Man they recasted the best friend, and how many times James Bond has been recast. And he still is fighting all the weird international spies and people out to destroy the world. It just has a different face. Yeah. But I mean, that realization landed so hard in my heart that I had no choice but to let it go.
You have to, for your own self, for your own well-being.
And then you become more aware. So you catch yourself the next time you want to go down that path of that story. Yeah. It's shockingly easy how that comes into play. And that's also the clue that you know your forgiveness has really worked.
Yeah, you open up your whole world.
Yes, yes, yes. So that's such a critical part. And you know, I still get calls from people that said, another person said, I hadn't been home in ages, and I just went home and I ran into a friend from high school. And he said, wow, you seem like your old self. You haven't changed a bit. And I wanted to say to him, if you knew the path I'd been on and all the twists and turns, he said, but you got me back to my happy place.
There you go. That's it. And that's all we need.
Yeah.
Now, life story coaching can sometimes unearth difficult or painful memories, as you just spoke about. How do you support your clients in navigating and processing these emotions in a healthy way?
It's interesting because I do a lot of work with trauma. Trauma is one of those challenges. I always look at crisis as an opportunity. In the storytelling process, in Act 2, as you're plodding along, your hero, your antagonist, deals with challenges as a way to forge them to the new person that they are. But when you're dealing with a trauma, that's an old story that's not been resolved. And depending, I mean, there are some cases that I think are really difficult and require a different level of help. So I recommend them right away. And I have a couple of great referrals of people that work with these things. So I don't try to minimize, because one of the things that you can do is re-traumatize people if you minimize the original event.
Right.
That doesn't help anything. But if they're beyond that, if they're a little bit more on their path to healing, and depending on the type and the severity of the trauma, I work with them to see what happened. I had a client that got triggered, and it's in my book, but I'll tell it anyway. This guy could not understand. He had this most successful career, and he went to work at this company, and everything was great. It was his ideal job. And then all of a sudden, he got a new boss, and her name was Grace. And all of a sudden, he was having difficulty. He he would get nervous around her. He was triggered around her and he had no idea why. So we talked about events in his life. And that was the first thing. What are the events? You're clearly triggered. What are the events? And it turned out that when he was in school, grade school, he loved school.
Yeah.
And he was getting into either 6th or 7th grade. And he was do well in school and loved it. And after one class, I guess he said he did something in class and the teacher congratulated him, but the other kid that didn't get the right answer felt humiliated. And as he was walking out of the class, he was tripped. One of the kids tripped him. And this kid called him Grace. Hey, Grace. Hey, Grace. And everybody in school picked it up. Grace, Grace, man. Grace. So his grades started to suffer and he just made it through.
Yeah.
But he buried that memory deep down. Mm-hmm. And until he met they had this boss named Grace, it didn't come up again. But that was an old conflict that hadn't been resolved. And when you're 12 years old, you don't have the keys to
No,
work
of course.
But
of course.
when we worked it through, he actually had a major breakthrough from that and resolved this issue from 30 years ago.
Wow.
So, but it was just an understanding. It was just an understanding. And I gave him permission. I said, look, the thing you need to do is feel the feelings. And I also do a lot of work with healing your inner child. Mm-hmm. And I said, go and talk to this guy and tell him, I'm your future self. I made it. I'm so sorry those guys did that to you. Can I walk with you to class? And take his hand and walk with him to class so he feels like he has support. Not that anybody in the world will see you. No. But that little guy will feel like he has somebody there protecting him.
For sure.
And it was amazing. He did the work. He did it, and it came back, and it was great. But I also look at crisis as an opportunity. Sometimes if you didn't get the job, if you didn't get the relationship, maybe this door was closed so a window could open.
That's something I've learned. My dad always said to me, what is meant for you will never, ever go by you. And that always sticks. When an opportunity comes up that I didn't get, okay, that means that there's something bigger on the horizon. There's something better coming. And there was a reason I didn't get this, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But it takes work to get to that point, to
does.
Believe in that and to trust in that.
That's right. And that's where I always say in these situations, it's good to have a coach or a therapist or a best friend. I'm reluctant to recommend friends because friends aren't supposed to be your coach.
Yeah.
That you can wear out a friendship very quickly there. But, some of us do have a best friend that you can have these conversations with.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I highly encourage people to get a support group or get a therapist or get a coach. Because we can be your cheerleaders.
For sure.
We can remind you of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this life story coaching often involves exploring both past and future. How do you help clients strike a balance between honoring their past and creating a vision for their future?
That's a great question. Because when I think about my past and when I would tell people about some of the horrific stories of my childhood, they'd look at me and say, really? Look at who you are today. Mm-hmm. And I said, there was a time I couldn't even tell those stories because they were so painful. And I had to deal with the psychological and the emotional pain that came from those experiences. But now that I can honor them as a way to have shaped me. I would not be who I am today if not for those experiences. I would not be who I am today without healing those experiences. And I would not be who I'm on the path to being without really seeing some of my gifts that these experiences gave me. My level of determination, my willingness to be out in the world and share this story with people. That my
takes
path.
Courage.
Yes, it takes courage, but that's what I saw. My willingness to endure some of the things I dealt with. I'm still rather gobsmacked when I think about huh? What are you doing here? I mean, everything that you endured, most people would say, I'm out. I had a cousin that passed away at 10 years old, in this crazy family. And I often wondered if it was because she just didn't want to have to deal with the mess that her family was.
Yeah. In your experience as a life story coach, and we've just talked about this a little bit, forgiveness, it obviously plays a huge role in the process of healing and rewriting our stories. How do you guide your clients toward forgiveness, both for themselves and others?
You're on a roll today. You have some great questions here. Forgiveness is something I do every day. Even if nobody stepped on my toe, nobody cut me off in traffic, even if the dog made it outside and didn't try to run away, I still look to forgive myself. Every day I tell myself I am forgiven. And every day I also work with gratitude.
Those two go hand in hand.
Those two go hand in hand, yes. And working with a client, I broach it when I get the sense that they're ready. Because forgiveness, if you're really ready to forgive, you will let the situation go.
Yeah.
And some people are still invested. They're still getting something from that story. You've met people like that, haven't you? That they love that story. And are they ready to give that one up? I have one of my dearest friends has this one story, and I'm always going to love her. I'm always going to be in her corner, but I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop trying to gently nudge her into seeing that story that maybe we can work with. And when I get a sense that they're ready, they'll often say to me, okay, I see that. Now what?
Yeah.
Are you ready to forgive them? How do I do that? How do I forgive them? And sometimes it's not, you don't forgive them for what they did. Mm-hmm. You forgive them for why they did it.
Right.
As in the case of my parents, I forgave them because they were damaged. My mother ended up having a mental health crisis, and it was more extensive than I even realized. As a kid, you don't see this, but as an adult,
of course. Mm-hmm.
I look back and I realized, she was not a healthy person.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I was the spawn of Satan. It was that I happened to be in her path. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I protected my younger sister by staying in my mom's path and not letting her go after my younger sister.
Yeah.
So I thought, looking back on it, it's like, that was stupid. but that told me how I look out for doing the right thing in the world. Mm-hmm. That gave me another sense of who I am in the world. And that is, I want to make sure that people that may not have the skills are protected.
Yeah.
Or I want to do the right thing by people.
Yeah. Love it. Now, in your view, how does the process of reclaiming and reframing one's life story contribute to larger societal movements or for social justice and collective healing?
Oh, that is right up my alley. Look at it this way. Where do a lot of our stories come from?
Past experiences, things we've been through, things we've seen.
Yes. So once you leave the family nest, you're put into a societal situation in school.
Yep.
And the programming, the storytelling continues.
Yes.
For me, young ladies behave a certain way, mm-hmm. or boys are rambunctious. So boys are allowed to
Boys will be boys. Don't worry about it.
Boys, young ladies must be seen and not heard. Mm-hmm. So society continues the story of who we should be in the world.
Right.
And we choose which aspects of that we want. Mm-hmm. Which fit our story and our theme that was started in our families. And as we move forward, to me, the whole concept of misogyny is this giant story that women are the weaker sex.
Yeah.
That women need to be cared for. My mother in society always said to me, get a husband. When I was going away to college, my father said, what do you need college for? Marry the guy you're in high school with that you're dating. And then when I graduated, he said, and after not paying for it, I paid for my own college degree. He said to me, but you didn't get a husband. But I got a degree I'm going to grad school, but you didn't get a husband. It's like, on my mother's deathbed, she said to me, get married, try it for 6 weeks. It's why 6 weeks?
6 weeks. Where did that number come from?
I know. Why not 5? Why not 10? What was
Why
the magic?
not 52?
I know. What was the magic of 6 weeks?
Yeah.
And you get these messages that contribute to the story.
Mhm.
So once you can take those apart, you see the stories in the headlines. They use fear.
Yes.
And how many times have you read a headline and then you read the meat of the story and it's, where's that headline?
Yeah.
It's not there.
Mhm.
And so you can challenge that. There's a lot of talk about fake news. And
Oh, Carrie, this is a whole other realm and a whole other episode.
I don't want to get into it because we could have a whole session.
We
on
could.
fake news.
We could.
But advertising is fake news. I mean, the fear of a catastrophe is an insurance agent's best friend.
Fear, that's how people are controlled. That's
Yes.
how they control people.
Yes.
Is through fear.
Yes.
It's the biggest control factor there is.
Yes. Let's scare the hell out of them.
Mhm.
Then they'll buy our product. They'll buy
That's right.
our newspapers, our insurance, our seatbelt restraint.
All the things.
I know. We already have seatbelts. Now they want to give you body coverage. Then you have airbags. It's good God. How scary is this world?
Yeah.
No wonder I dream of aliens attacking Costco. I mean, come on. You know?
I don't know. So here in Toronto, about a month ago, there was a lot of car thefts happening. In the span of a couple of weeks, there was something like 50 cars stolen. But how they were stolen is people were breaking into people's houses and taking the key fobs.
Mm-hmm.
So what our brilliant police force decided to do and say is hold a press conference and tell the people of Toronto and the surrounding areas to just leave your car keys, leave your key fobs at the front door. That way you avoid confrontation. What? What kind of a solution is that? And there is the fear, right? It's absolutely insane. Your job as a police force is to protect the citizens of that city. Yet you're telling people, just leave your key fobs at the front door. That way they just come in and they take your car. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Are you kidding me?
I know. We had a similar thing here because they're stealing a lot of the converters, the catalytic converters.
Mhm.
And we happened to be talking with the sheriff of Santa Barbara. I always see him on a horse with a cowboy hat, the sheriff of Santa Barbara. And I said, so what's going on with this whole catalytic converter thing? He said, nothing. I said, why not? He said, the one smart thing they know is that until they reach this $952 threshold, and I random number, why 900, again, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Why 952? They know, unless it's more than $952, we're not interested because it's not a felony.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. What do you say to that? So do you see how these stories contribute to our distrust and our complete disallowance of societal rules? And so we sometimes feel like we're on the verge of anarchy. There's all these things brewing, everybody. And people, the other thing is they keep talking about a civil war in America.
Yeah.
And if you keep talking about it, you keep putting it out there, somebody's going to figure out how to do it.
Yes. What you focus on appears.
There's a great book, if you've not read it. It's called
Imaginable.
Okay. And it talks about imagining the future. And it said that the COVID pandemic was a case study at a research think tank about how the world would cope on a pandemic that would cause a worldwide lockdown.
Think about that for a minute.
Exactly. So they create this story of something in the future. And by the way, there is a movie out now called Civil War. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to go see it. But if you haven't seen the trailers for it, and it's about a civil war in America, and it's these stories just keep tearing into our realities.
Yep.
And they become ingrained in the fabric of who we are.
Which instills fear, which then gives control. It's a cycle, right? That's exactly what they're trying to do.
Exactly.
I will definitely check out that book. That sounds right up my alley. So thank you.
Oh, you're
going
to love
that.
it. I have a feeling you're going to love it. It's really, and there's a couple of tricky parts, but keep reading past it because you'll see there's some good gems in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking inward, what lessons or insights have you gained from your own life story and personal journey that have helped shape your approach to coaching?
Writing my book was in and of itself a story. That brought me to the deepest, most profound healing of everything that I'd been working on. I feel so grateful for every experience, even the hard ones. They all formed me. Mm-hmm. And looking at each one as an opportunity for growth. And that's the other thing you can do when you're dealing with your traumas. Once you get past a lot of the massive triggers around it, see how each one of those events kept you on this path. They forged you. It's almost like a kiln where you're a smithy working on metal. They beat on it a bit, then they heat it up. So it's this process. And that was the other thing I realized, that life is not one and done. It's a process. It's a process. It's a plot that goes through life, and you get to write the story. Mm-hmm. And you get to decide. It's very easy to say no, but people just don't say it enough. And even for me yesterday, I was invited to this event, and I honestly didn't want to go. Mm-hmm. But these are with people that I've gone to these events with forever. Yeah. And yesterday, writing this book, I finally said, no, thank you very much. I'm not going. And to the point where one person called me and said, is it the money? I'll pay your way. And no, it's not that. It's like, no.
I just don't want to go.
Yeah. I don't want to use, in my past, I've always used money. Oh, well, I can't afford it right now. I've got all these things to do. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, whenever it's something I've really wanted to do, the money has appeared.
There you go.
It's worked out. Yeah. I don't know how, but it has.
And that's not our job to know the how.
Exactly. It is not our job to know how these things happen. Mm-hmm. But we keep trying to figure out the how of it.
We do. It's human nature, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a sign of not trusting.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. We need to learn to trust and allow.
Yes. So saying no was the greatest gift that all this process taught me.
I love it. What would you say are 3 of the most important lessons you've learned in your journey as a coach, as a storytelling coach?
Forgiveness.
Life story coach. Okay.
Forgiveness, gratitude, and respect.
3 very important pillars.
Yes, you need to respect people's process. There was also a time where I would get so frustrated and say, if you would only do it my way, you'd be happier. Back to the friend that has this one story that she holds on to. Mm-hmm. There would have been a time when I would have said, if you don't change that story, if you don't stop doing that, I'm not going to be your friend. You've got to change that story. I was the consummate rescuer. I wanted to go in and save people. Like I protected my sister decades ago. Mm-hmm. That was the downside of being a protector. So how can I do that in another way? And the way I can do that is to inspire.
There you go. And just be there as support to guide her when she goes through whatever that piece of that story is. Just be there to support.
Yeah.
And let her go through it. When she's ready, when she's finally ready to say, okay, you will be there.
Then that's the respect. Sure. Respect other people's process. I do not have all the answers, even though I think I do. I really don't.
What lights you up or inspires you the most about the work that you do?
Conversations like this, having fun. I get to a point with every one of my clients where we're laughing about it. And when they call me and say, I did it again. Okay, what do you do next? I forgive myself. Great. Do you know why you did it? Yes, I did it because I went unconscious and I forgot. And that's okay. Forgive yourself. It's a process. It'll get easier next time.
There you go.
It'll get easier next time. And that's when I can have that level of a conversation with a client, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's connecting heart to heart. That's when you're connecting heart to heart. And you know what, Brad? Mm-hmm. Back to that one question you had about how does this change the world? Mm-hmm. If we start connecting heart to heart, and when I have a client, I don't say, what are your politics? I know a lot of people, because I live in California, think, oh, California. When I work with a client in Michigan or Ohio or Alabama, it's, oh, you live in California. Yes, I do.
And
I grew up in Pennsylvania. And
for sure,
it doesn't come into the politics of it.
Yeah.
But that's where I think we can connect and remember that in the bottom, on the base of it all, at the face of it all, we're all the same.
1000% we are. We all come into this world the same way. We all bleed the same color, and we all go out the same way.
Yep.
Period. That's it.
Yep.
So why all the strife and all the bullshit and all the negativity and all the war? And there's no need for it. The hatred and fuck enough. We just need love. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. If we can connect through our stories, and that's the other thing. I love stories because when you tell people your story, they realize you're not a monster.
Mm-hmm.
They realize that you're just like them. And I maintain, and I always will, is we all want to do well by our families. We want to be productive. Human beings have a natural urge to be productive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when they're not being productive, when they're feeling down about life and they're depressed, that contributes. You need to have an activity that you connect with.
Yeah.
You want to feel like you're safe and secure.
Mm-hmm.
You want to feel like you're providing for your families and that your families are safe and secure.
Mm-hmm.
We all want that. The difference is how we go about achieving it. And there's a lot of fear being presented in this country now about if you don't do it my way, you're going to do that. And that other political party are monsters.
Yeah.
And I don't care who's saying that. It's going both ways.
Yep. For sure.
It's not just Republicans saying it about Democrats. Democrats are doing a very subtle, nuanced way of saying they're monsters.
For sure.
But the message is the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Also mentioned, and you've mentioned it a couple times, you are an author. I would love for you to speak a little bit about the book, the title, aside from the psychology of bagels. The subject matter, all of the things.
I was thinking of calling it The Psychology of Carrie, but the original title, and I say original because I don't know if this is going to stick, was Memoir of an Ordinary Person.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that title because it's relatable. I think that it's easy. I love reading stories about celebrities. I do. And I love that they're designed to inspire you because they talk about their humble beginnings and how they made it into these massive roles in our society. But I wanted to kind of say, I'm not an overachieving celebrity. I'm still to this day a normal person. And that was not that they're not normal. We're all normal.
Yeah.
We're all ordinary people.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Paul Newman's book, posthumously titled The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the joy to meet him, and he really was an ordinary man. And it's funny, I worked in the film industry. Celebrities are just like us. They really, this hype about them. Yes, they dress up. Yes, they put on beautiful clothes and wear great makeup.
They make more money than us.
And of course, they make more money. And yes, they travel on private jets. But honestly, they have the same issues that we all do.
Mm-hmm.
But I was hoping for it to be relatable. And what it is, I talk about the storytelling process using my story. So when I talk about character, I talk about the characters in my story. And when I talk about theme, I talk about my theme and multiple themes. And we all have multiple themes. I think you have a main theme that covers your whole life, but then you have the sub-themes, say, around finances and career and relationships. And interestingly enough, they are related. So I go through the whole storytelling process. And honestly, it's a workbook within a memoir, within a story, so that if you want to get working and looking at your own story, I give you the tools to do that.
Is the book out now? Is it available now, or is it coming out?
I'm at the final edit with my editor. In fact, she's probably going to be emailing me any minute, say, I don't have that last chapter.
So it will be out in the next few months or so.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I'll send you a copy.
I would love that. I would be honored. Thank you. What, in your opinion, is one of the most challenging parts about being an author?
The non-writing aspect of it. The business of getting a book out in the world. No, I've said this 100
The struggle is real.
Yeah. No, I've said it 100 times. If I would have known how difficult it is getting these books out in the world. And I was talking to another friend and he said, I just self-published it and I just have a bunch of copies that I give away. And it's like, I really wanted my book to get out and mean something. So I went this route of working with editors and working with a publisher and doing all that because I do think that if we could all see life as a story, a complex, massive story, maybe we could lighten up on ourselves a bit. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want. I want people to walk away feeling that no matter how bad it seems, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it is not a train speeding down to come and crash
towards you.
Yeah, no. So there's that meme about, it's a light at the end of a tunnel. It's a train. No, it's not. I am a perfect example of coming from incredibly humble beginnings with a mother that almost killed me a couple of times. And I've got this amazing life with an amazing partner and a dog who rules both of our lives. And luckily, Simon just adores him. He owns Simon would fall over for him. He's over here sleeping. He's probably going to give me a hard time. But I mean, you never would have known that I had the background I did.
Yeah.
And I'm never ashamed of it. I embrace it. It's who I am.
It made you who you are. Exactly. It shaped you.
Yeah. And if we could all just hear more of our own stories. When I was in film school, they used to say, everybody has a story but not everyone should tell it. And I'd say, bullshit.
Yeah.
How do we know each other if we're not telling our stories? Do you ever go to a wedding and you're at a table and you don't know anybody else? What's the first thing they do? What do you do for a living?
Yes.
How do you know the bride? How do you know the groom? They're trying to grab that story that they can relate to.
Yep, absolutely. As a creative, we've all gone through periods and dealt with creative blocks. How do you deal with creative blocks when you get them? And what have you found that helps the most when they do come up?
Walking in nature.
Walking in nature? Okay.
To me, a creative block is another one of those challenges and obstacles that tell me to rethink the path I'm going on. And if I'm stuck on a chapter or stuck on a paragraph or stuck on whatever, I can't seem to find it, I don't try to fight it anymore. There was a time I would sit there and I don't do that anymore. I go out and I take the dog for a walk. I go get a cup of coffee. Sometimes I'll even play a video game depending on how bad it is, but I got to break that tension and just walk away from the obstacle that's being presented. In this case, the obstacle is the writer's block. And then when I have a fresh perspective, I sit down and I just type the first thing that comes into my mind. And then it flows from there.
Now, as a writer, author, we've mentioned this word, you have to have the courage to discover or find your voice. So in your journey, how did you discover the power of your own voice, and what obstacles did you overcome to find it and embrace it?
There's a great writing teacher, coach in LA called Jack Grapes. Jack Grapes is such a fantastic storyteller, and he's an actor. And he applied the process of acting to the writing process. And he has this process called Write Like You Talk. So every day we had to write a journal entry about something going on in our lives. And there's a funny story about how he said he had one student could never come up with stuff, and he finally just started writing, I'm going to Ralph's to get a chicken. Ralph's is a grocery store in LA.
Okay.
I'm going to Ralph's to get some chicken. And that became a theme of the whole class after that, because it was so much fun. The way Jack delivered it, it was so much fun. So that everybody would, for a while there, all of us were starting to our stories with our journal entries with, I went to Ralph's to get some chicken. And then and if no other way, again, writing in the journal, I went to Ralph's to get a chicken. And then the writing can come after that. Mm-hmm. And what it is, it's to find your voice. And Jack to say, write like you talk. Write like you talk. An editor will clean up the grammar, but just write like you talk. And there's power in that. There's power in that. So that was my biggest guide when I try to get too prosy and the sun rose over the darkened sky, enlightening the world around me. That's not me. I mean, I write about bagels. I mean, can you see me writing? The sun rose over like cream cheese smeared on the mountains.
Love it.
I hope you can edit some of this out.
No, I'm leaving it all in. We're going raw and authentic. Creativity is a powerful force. How do you believe tapping into one's creative expression, whether through writing or other forms, contributes to personal empowerment?
It's that productivity thing. I think people said to me, what's the most creative thing you've ever done? Because I worked in the film industry, for heaven's sake. The most creative thing I ever did was start a business. When you talk about taking something from nothing, I mean, that's how a baby is born. There is nothing there. Then all of a sudden, boom, magic happens and a baby is formed. So in the creative process, nothing is there. Then boom, a creative idea. Mm-hmm. Whether it be a business or a book or a movie or a poem or anything or a bookcase. Yeah. Oh, I want to build a bookcase. Creative idea. Mm-hmm. Sparks it. That spark of imagination. And that's another step. And this is going to be my next book, is the power of imagining. We have forgotten how to imagine.
That's been conditioned out of us.
Yes.
From when we were kids.
Yes. Here's the story. You have to be realistic now.
Stop acting like a kid.
Stop acting like a kid. Mm-hmm. And I encourage my clients, I encourage everybody, act like a kid. Grab onto your imagination. That's one story I'd really like to rewrite in society.
Yeah, for sure.
Because who better to imagine a new world than us?
100%.
And if we have forgotten how to imagine, if we have forgotten how to vision a new world, then all this fear can jump in and take its place.
100%.
Thomas Jefferson said, without true leadership and true vision, the world is open for anybody to come in and take it from us. Now, that is not a quote, but there is something in one of his writings that he talks about how without true leadership and vision, if we don't take responsibility and take care of these things, then that means just any old person can come in, and any dictator, anyone who's a power hungry guy or girl, female, woman. I don't know what you're supposed to say, but
that's okay.
Any power hungry person can come in and try to take it away from us. Mm-hmm. Take over. Yeah. So we need vision. We need imagination.
For sure. Most creatives, artists have a creative process or ritual they practice when creating their art, whatever that art form is. Do you have a creative process, and can you share a little bit of it?
Lots of coffee. I know I do better writing at night. For some reason, I don't know why. I used to be able to write before Simon and I got involved. I would stay up until 2 a.m. and just write. But for me, my creative process, when I really get an idea that I want to get out fast, I go away. I go, like I said, because I like to write at night. And I don't want to disturb the family. I just like to go, and I can stay up all night and write till my heart's content.
Yeah.
And that's why I say coffee, because if I start to get sleepy, I want to keep going. Mm-hmm. But that's my circadian rhythm around it.
Yeah. I find a lot of creatives prefer working at night. I know I do myself too. I'd much rather work at night, and I can stay up all hours. I'm a night owl. I always have been. So I find that's a very common trait among creatives as well. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a time when I used to get up at 5 a.m. religiously and write, and then go off on my day. I write for an hour and go off on my day. And that was okay. But when I write at night, when I am up, I really jam and I come up with some of my best stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if you get blocked and you got to go out in nature, that could be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But you make do.
Yeah. Looking forward into the future, what are your aspirations or goals for your writing career, and what projects are you? I mean, I know you're finishing up this current book. What currently else are you working on or planning for the future? What's your next project?
I really want to work on imagination. The imagination and visioning needs to be next, I think. I'm really big on getting more people to change their story around imagination.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I also have the thought that I would dig deeper into more processes for storytelling, like looking at, there's a whole section in my book about origin stories, and your origin stories are vital to who you are. And I'm doing a small book on origin stories for business, because those talk about how your culture gets set in place and how origin stories really have a big determining factor on who you are right now, both business and in personal.
Yeah.
But I'm just deciding if I go deeper into origin stories or if I dig into career stories or relationship stories or health stories or something like that. I'm waiting to see what my publisher thinks about that. But imagination and vision really are calling to me to write about those two things.
Follow that call then. There you go.
Yeah.
What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before learning it? And what was your life like after you learned it?
It's so funny. I was just thinking about that this morning. Because I feel like it's going to have another big impact on me. You ever get that sense that something is nudging on your shoulder and you're about to have another breakthrough?
You're at the edge of the cliff.
You're at the pinnacle and you're going to leap off. And that's where I feel like I'm at right now. And it's all around this idea of perspective. And shifting my perspective opened me up to forgiveness and gratitude. But I feel like in a bigger way, I'm about to shift my perspective on society and reality, if that makes sense. I know in many ways I don't have it formed, but is society really about these stories? Is there some underlying factor that contributes? And I don't know, but I could be on a completely wrong path with that, but I do feel that there's another shift coming in perspective for me.
Okay. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
I could say bagels, but
you could.
No, my superpower is my determination. Okay. When I decide I'm going to do something, I get it done. And people have noticed that in me. So I didn't even realize it. Can I share one more funny story about this? And I was involved with foundations in Los Angeles when I was in the industry. And a couple of very wealthy individuals asked me to set up a foundation for them, which I did. And it went really well. And then I took a sabbatical. I went to Chicago for 6 months and stepped away from the foundation. And when I did that, I actually stayed away longer than the 6 months. But when I stepped away, they lost their 501c3 status, which is your nonprofit status in the U.S. And when I came back from Chicago, they were frantic. 2 guys were calling me, Carrie, you got to call the IRS. We've written letters. We've called. We can't seem to get them to do this. And I said, all right. So I made a call. And then I happened to be in LA with Simon. And one of the founders took us out for sushi for lunch. And in the middle of lunch, Simon's sitting there eating away. And Brian said to me, how do you do that? I said, what do you mean? He said, we got the letter from the IRS reinstating our 501c3. What did you do? I said, I made a call. And he said, I don't understand how you do that. And Simon, without skipping a beat, with sushi on his chopsticks, said, they can tell in her voice that she's not going to give up, so they give her away right away. Why bother? Because she'll just keep calling you. And he kept on eating.
Very matter of fact.
Very matter of fact. This is something he had known in me from day one.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to think that I'm fearless when I want to get something done.
Tenacious.
And I'm determined to change the story. I really am.
Love it. Speaking of success, how do you define that word? What does success mean to you?
That's like defining prosperity and abundance. Everybody thinks abundance is money. It isn't. I've come to realize that I have such an abundant life. I have an abundance of love. I have an abundance of happiness and joy. I have an abundance of a puppy who I never knew the love of this dog was going to open me up like that. But that to me is the same as success. Success is being able to sit and look around the room and say, oh my gosh, look what I've done. Look what I've created for myself, for my family, for my friends. I mean, that's the end game for me.
Yeah. To date, what would you say is your biggest high or your greatest win?
The magic in my life. How Simon and I got together was magical. How we got our house in Santa Barbara was magical. How we got the puppy was magical. I love that. It's like you're in the flow. Yeah. Do you ever have that sense?
Yep.
Have you had a moment where you just felt like
everything's coming together, baby?
Yeah.
Everything's flowing.
Tell me one of yours. What is one of yours?
Oh, man. This podcast, this community, this is just how it's all come together. And I never in a million years thought I would ever be hosting a podcast. I always thought that photography was Brad and Brad was photography.
That's right. Yeah.
So stepping into this world, and then all of the connections that have come out of it, all of the opportunities that have come, speaking opportunities, and all the people I've met, that's magic.
Yeah.
That's in flow.
Isn't that the best?
It is. There's no feeling like it in the world. When you find what you were brought here to do in this world, that gift that you're giving people, there is no fucking feeling like it in the world. It is, I always say, this is, for me, this is how I describe it, is like winning the lottery twice, because the first time was finding my purpose and my mission. Second time is that it impacts and gives back to people. That's it. That is it. This is the epitome of life.
Yep.
That's being in flow.
And see, sharing that story is inspiring. That's why these stories have to get out there. That's it. My next book is going to be The Magic of Flow.
There you go.
Because these are the stories. I'm going to do a whole segment on my story. What's your story? Let me write that down. The Magic of Flow.
I love it. Look at this. Magic happening as we're talking.
No, but that's exactly right. You don't know how many times I've been on podcasts and vodcasts, and all of a sudden I've got stacks of paper here. I'm a messy desk person, and I've got stacks of paper with all these little messy desk notes that I need somebody to help me get all these
things happen when you're least expected.
Exactly. So you have to embrace it. And again, that's how Simon and I got together. Simon and I had been friends for a couple of years. I met him on a project, and when I first met him, I thought, oh my God, he was British, which I'm an Anglophile, so British had me intrigued. But then he had a stick so far up his ass, I thought, I can't imagine even sitting with this guy. How can he sit down? His stick would just
elevated.
Exactly. And we ended up becoming friends. And then I followed my lifelong dream. Again, this was another magical thing. I had finished remodeling my condo. I was ready to get a tenant. And I said to a group of friends, we were having lunch, I said, I think I'm going to see about moving to England for the summer. And the next day I get a call from another friend saying, Sue called, said you're going to go to England. I'm renting my place in England for the summer. It all came together like that. And then I called Simon and said, so I'm going to England for the summer. And he said, where are you going to be staying? And I told him. And he said, when I'm over there seeing my family, I'll look you up. And to me, England is small. And living in California, I don't care if I was 2,000 miles away, I'd drive to go and see him. You know?
Yeah.
It's like California. If you want to go see somebody in the Bay Area, you get in the car, you go.
Yeah.
Turns out it was the closest village to his hometown. And when I got there, the friend took me into his hometown to get some supplies because I was pretty isolated out. It was a gorgeous place out in the country. But I was isolated, and so she took me into town, and she said, oh, we have to go into this bookstore. It's a metaphysical bookstore. It's called Arcturus Bookstore. That was Simon's home growing up. And
you just can't make this shit up.
No, you can't. You can't. And then he came over. We met for a coffee. He said, you want to grab a bite to eat? Grabs a bite to eat, takes me back to my cottage. He's sticking around. Then all of a sudden he said, okay, I'm going to go. And he kisses me. And not just like a peck. He kisses me. And it's, what's happening? And then he said, I think there's something going on here. I said, how could there be? We haven't even gone on a date. He said, you want to go to dinner tomorrow night? And we've been together ever since.
There you go.
I mean, you can't make this shit up.
No,
just like you said, you cannot. But we all have stories like that.
We do. And they do need to be shared.
Yes.
100%. Because it will undoubtedly impact at least one person. And really, when you think about it, that's all we want to do is impact one person. If through our stories that we share, we can help one person out there in the world. There's
a better epilogue to that story too. I was on another podcast and it was for women over 50. And she said, what's the biggest thing? What's something that happened to you over 50? And I said, Simon and I didn't get together until we were 55. Here's the other thing. Simon's only 5 days older than me. Same year, same month, 5 days older than me. We were 55. We got together. But there's more. Up until that time, I had never dated anyone for more than a couple, 8 weeks.
Wow.
I'd never been married. I'm still not married. He keeps saying, you want to get married? It's, I don't know.
We'll see.
Every day I wake up and I feel like this is my home. You're the guy I'm with. I don't.
Why fix it if it ain't broke?
Yeah. We own a house together. We have this puppy together. We're a family. I don't know. Yeah. But can you imagine never going out with anyone more than 8 weeks? And now
you're living with them and
you built
a life together.
12 years.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
anything is possible.
For sure.
Anything is possible.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I used to view dating as an extended job interview. I hated dating.
There you go. You don't have to worry about it.
I wasn't good at it at all. I never got hired. I'll tell you.
Too funny. That's a great analogy.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it's like, right? What is one of your biggest failures, and what did you learn from it?
When I was in my late 20s, I had decided I was going away to college in England. Again, living in England was a big on my dream calendar. And I set it all up, took my sabbatical from work. I was working at TNT at the time, and the only company I ever worked for, really. So taking a sabbatical was more like, yeah, if I want to come back, but I never had any intention of coming back. I got accepted for the writing program at the University of London, and I was going to just go.
Yeah.
And I told my mother, and she said, don't worry, I'll be dead anyway. And she died.
Wow.
She died. She died a couple months later. Just as I was getting ready to pack up and go, she died. Excuse me, I canceled the trip. I didn't go. And I often wonder, I was talking to somebody yesterday, I think, unless maybe that was you in this morning, but they said life is a series of choices. You go down, you make the left turn and the right turn. Do you tell this story?
Fork in the road.
Story? Yeah, you're in the fork of the road. And I often wondered what would have happened if I would have gone to England then, even after Mom died. Yeah. Now, in all fairness, I remember thinking on one trip to England, because I used to go every year, I remember thinking that until I get my act together and heal some of my stuff, I'm just going to bring it with me.
Yeah.
I would just find the same characters in England that I had with my story here in the States. So until I can not only recast, but change the whole character development, then I don't know that I'll achieve the results I want. But I'll never know that.
No, everything happens for a reason. And
yeah.
That's it. This was your path that you were meant to walk.
This was but I wonder, as we do, you think about
can't help
what
but wonder, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
interesting. What does the word empowerment mean to you?
A dear friend of mine once said that feeling powerful means you feel you have access to resources. So we've been told this story that power is power over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not. Power is about having access to resources. When you're empowered, you know that, and you know the resources you can access at a moment's notice. For example, if you want to just use the plain old money one, it's shocking to me that so many people in this country would have financial stress if they had a flat tire, because they don't have money in a savings account that could help them out through those kinds of stresses. I am blessed to not have that stress. I have the ability to deal with those situations. That's empowering. That gives me a sense of peace that I'm okay and I'm protected and I can take care of something that arises.
Yeah.
I also have access to resources like you, Brad, people who share my mindset. And we can have, if nothing else, this conversation empowers me. I am going to feel jazzed and alive for the rest of the day, if not the next 2 days.
Yeah.
I did a podcast with somebody in Australia, and I still watch that because it was such a great podcast, a vodcast. And I sent it to a friend, and they called me and said, wow, that was so great. You two were just clicking. That feeling that comes from knowing there are others like you out in the world that you can connect with and feel jazzed about, that's empowering.
Yes.
I could go on. There's examples, but that's what it is. Power is having access to resources. Empowered means I know what those resources are for me. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section here. So the next grouping of questions just be 1, 2, 3, 4 word answer type thing, okay? How would you describe yourself in one word?
Determined.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Happiness.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
Shoot, I was going to say my ass, but how about I go with my humor?
There we go. That'll work. What is one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
Acceptance.
What is your favorite self-care practice? And that concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I created a question that I did not send you ahead of time. I call it my bonus question.
Okay.
If other people could use 3 words to describe you, what would you want those 3 words to be?
And instead of the 3 words they use now.
Yes.
Loving, happy, dependable.
Perfect. What is one common myth about your profession that you want to debunk?
I'll say it.
Say it. Just go. Let it rip.
It doesn't have to be extensive. I know a lot of people have clients that they work with for years. I don't want that. I want clients that'll call me in a year, in 6 months, in 3 months, and say, let's go out for a coffee and hang. I don't want to have you be working with me on your story for longer than a couple weeks, a couple months most.
Yeah.
And I think that people think once they get into therapy or coaching, it's a lifetime commitment. It doesn't have to be.
You want to provide them the tools to do what they need to do so that they know how to do it, and then they're fly the nest, fly the coop.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I wanted to say to this one guy, I love you dearly, but I'm tired of working with you. You got to move on.
I've equipped you with the tools. Here you go.
Yeah. You know what? Then that's the danger. You build the symbiotic relationship and you don't learn. You don't really grow and change. Are you old enough to remember this? I want to teach the world.
Yes, I am. The Coca-Cola commercial. Yep.
I don't remember the rest of it, but I would love to see us being able to hang out, have a coffee, go on a picnic, and not worry about, is it going to turn into something nasty because somebody will bring up politics or somebody will bring something up. And
Okay. If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
You're going to get me again, aren't you? I had a smart-ass question. I'm not going to do that. Oh, I know. Who would play you in the movie of your life?
Okay. So your question, who would play you?
Sandra Bullock.
Okay.
Or Laura Linney. And I ask my clients that question, who would play you in the movie of your life? Because that tells me a lot about how they see themselves.
Laura Linney's a great actress.
Yes. But I also think sometimes they say somebody like a character actor who's not well known, and that tells me they don't see themselves as the star of their movie or the star of their story. Yeah,
because they're giving you some obscure name.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Insight into the person.
Yeah.
If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
Oprah.
Why?
I want to know her story. I know the story she puts out in the world. But I don't know. I think there's something more to it.
Okay.
Because it's a rags to riches story, and I believe it wholeheartedly. But I want to connect with her. I want to get to her heart and soul.
Yeah.
Her persona is one thing, and her persona is Oprah Winfrey. I want to know her heart.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't know why, but that's it.
All right. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Leave home now and don't look back.
That makes sense. I get it.
Get out now.
Yeah.
I was so enabled and symbiotic with them that all the times I tried to leave, I kept kangarooing back because it was such a symbiotic, painful relationship.
Lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your people, your corner of the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
It really is about the present moment. Don't worry about the past. Don't struggle to find a future. Just be. Just be. And laugh. We don't laugh enough. You got to laugh.
Okay. We've laughed a hell of a lot today, which
when
is
you
good.
turn off the recording, I'll tell you the first question that popped into my mind when you said that.
All right. Carrie, thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today and sharing a little bit about your journey, your story, and the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you're doing. It was an absolutely wonderful conversation, inspirational, beautiful, so much fun. I appreciate you, and I'm so grateful to have you as a member of the Empowerography community. Thank you for taking and making the time to be here with me today.
It's been my pleasure on every level. Thank you.
Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Carrie West. She is a life story coach and an author. Thank you so much, Carrie. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.